Sorry. Someone needs to.
Mute this.
It just needs to be muted.
Yep, I am muted.
Yep.
No, that's not gonna work. Hold on.
Is there someone else in there?
Oh, this happened last time.
I think it's the other guy.
I can't hear anything.
Which one should I turn off?
We had a long meeting in October, huh?
Somebody's, you want me to turn those?
Yeah, I can't. Sorry, I can't see that.
Yep, let me mute those.
That was
Did
it.
you do?
I think. Yes, that was it.
I
And
muted HW cam though.
we're all set. I need to be, for him to hear, for Newman to hear us, I need to be, my mic needs to be on.
I can't hear anything.
Okay, yeah, Marshall, can you, if you mute, I think that's where the verb is coming from.
Can you hear us now?
Oh my God.
It's reverberating, and I can't hear.
Can anyone hear me now?
Did you make these?
It's from one. Can anyone, nope. Oh, I don't know what the problem is.
1 sec. Sorry. How do we do live? Can I see?
I'm getting that message, leave computer audio.
Did I see you driving
It could be
in a truck?
Could be this.
Is that new?
End of July.
What, you
Let's
like
try
a
that.
Ford F-150 or something?
Okay,
It's great.
can anyone hear us on, that
You
is
and Al
on?
Evans can go drag race on Porter.
We're still losing kids in
How about now?
Still not working. And I'm on mute.
Is that working? Can they hear us now?
It's okay, we haven't started. We're
Yeah,
having
we're having
AV.
technical difficulties. Catherine, can you hear me?
We usually shut down.
Oh, this is
Should we turn off?
How are you, Ann?
to have Zoom.
Your computer.
How's that?
I don't know. Can anyone hear us?
That's, thought it was okay, but there was a little reverb. Try again?
That's pretty good.
That's a little better?
Oh, look at that.
Hello?
Yep, that's better.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it was one night.
Still.
It's picking you up,
I
too.
love those nights.
It still is one a little bit, but
I wasn't even the oldest person there.
Fancy.
There were guys with canes. It's catching everything.
That came from their SNEPA conference.
Oh, nice.
Oh, this is for you. I thought you'd like that.
Where did you find
but
that?
I had a box of pencils that were
Gonna have
rare
to
things.
Well,
And that was one of them.
turn down his
retire,
his speaker
whichever
a
comes
little bit.
first.
You what? I missed New York. Haven't been there in a
Given
while.
the
That's the only
events
thing I
of
can
life.
Point,
All right.
which is in Brooklyn.
I'm sorry about this.
That's okay. I guess we'll just try to
I bet,
move
yeah.
forward.
All these hipsters.
Microphones are working.
Okay.
You wanna continue from now, Mary?
You already opened the meeting?
We were about to at 7:03, but we started echoing. I think it's gonna be madness if we go forward with the echoes.
Okay, yeah, I don't,
Do you want me to, let me
if,
see
what
if
if
I
you turn the owl off?
just unplug it?
Well, let's see what happens.
What's up with the owl? Do we really need the owl?
As far as I know,
That's-
we do.
Now. Try it now.
Can you all hear us?
Yes.
Yeah.
Still coming through now. It's better?
A little bit better.
It's better.
That's way better.
It's a little soft,
Okay,
but
why
it's
don't we
better.
call the meeting to order then?
No, it's not gonna work.
Yes?
Yep.
So I'd like to bring the, well, I don't know, can they go down further? It just go,
Is there a pa-
there's a mute button on the, right by your fingers on your right hand. Oh,
So it's muted?
okay, and you can still hear us.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. That being the case, I would like to call to order the meeting of the town of.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
we can't hear you.
Oh, boy. Are the
It's
mics?
unmuted. Now it should work.
Oh, there you
Can
are.
you hear me now?
Yes.
Still coming.
Sorry.
I'd like to call to order the meeting of the planning board for the town of Wenham for Thursday, November 14th, 2024 at 7:12 PM due to technical difficulties. Apologies to those waiting online. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast on HW Cam. It's a hybrid meeting. We are here in person in Town Hall, and Zoom, there's always a Zoom option. Our items tonight are mostly administrative. The first one is the Spring Hill Farm request for bond reduction. And there's a memo in the packet from Weston and Sampson. Is that correct? Margaret, do you want to talk us through where we are with this?
Yeah, so at your last meeting, I was not in attendance, but you had before you the bond release for the Spring Hill project. And there was a discussion at the time, I guess, to do a partial release because you were concerned about work that may have to be done on the lot
17.
that has not been developed.
Lot 17,
17.
the
Yeah.
affordable housing lot,
Right,
yes.
so what we were advised, Weston and Sampson did look at it, Tim DeGuglielmo's here. He looked at it, we had gotten a report from them that all of the work that was bonded by that bond had been done. But you wanted to look at other work, so they looked at the possibility of the drainage on lot 17, I think. That has been sold to Habitat for Humanity. Town council's opinion that you could see was that
Yes.
the bond did not include that work. So I did talk to town council, and they felt that if Weston and Sampson would verify under, if they would to testify that the work that they're considering bonding now should have been bonded when we first got the bond, it should have been listed, then they would consider it appropriate for you to require that you hold the money for that additional work. Weston and Sampson did not feel that that work was appropriate to bond at the time, because no one's
Means to
certain.
bond now.
Yeah, that it should have been bonded at the time, or that, needs to be bonded now, because the work that's gonna be done on that lot is specific to that house. We don't know where the house is gonna go. We don't know what kind of drainage they're gonna propose. When Habitat comes into us, it's probably gonna be a 40B project. It won't come to the planning board, it'll go to the ZBA and Concom, because there's wetlands there. So they'll be responsible at the time for creating that drainage into the basin from their lot. As far as I understand, that's what your concern was that that work gets completed. Is that correct?
Discussion?
There was that issue, but also it was what happens if during that process there is damage done to the existing roadway, and, what's our coverage for that? You know what I mean?
Well,
Which is a-
Habitat would be responsible, because the town does not own that roadway. The town has not accepted that street. So any development on the road would still be the responsibility of whoever develops that lot.
But that was always to be the case with the bond.
Yeah.
The developer, whoever it was gonna be for the lots, was always gonna be responsible for any damage caused, but the point of the security bond is so that the town has security against any damage that's done. Ultimately, this is intended to be a town right-of-way. Ultimately, the developer, the terms of the approval were that this lot was gonna be developed. And now we're in a position as a town where the developer is walking away from following through on the development of that lot. Not a duplex, not even gonna develop that lot. $40,000 in a handshake to Habitat for Humanity. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I've kind of gotten blue in the face on this one, and it seems like everyone else feels comfortable releasing this money. So I don't want to sit here and be a stick in the mud on this, but we see where this is going. The developer has telegraphed the intention to walk away from this obligation. And now we're gonna have a nonprofit step into the shoes to complete this project, maybe, maybe not, and we're gonna have no security funds left for the town. That feels like we're not doing our job as a board.
Is the suggestion, Margaret, that Habitat would need to put up a bond for the roadway?
It's not unheard of that the ZBA could require something like that.
Why are we
This road
shifting?
hasn't been accepted.
Why are we shifting this to Habitat? The developer,
I think the
This was the
developer shifted it to Habitat.
Correct.
but why are we allowing that to happen? This is, our SHI has been negatively impacted by this development. this should not have happened, and we're just allowing this to further slip away. That lot needs to be developed into affordable housing units. That's my opinion on this.
I don't think, well, I can't speak for any other member of the board besides myself. I completely concur with what you're saying, that the lot needs to be developed into affordable housing units. That was part of the understanding when the permit was given. I don't know that we have the ability to force this developer to do it. And I don't know that we have the leverage because of the way the bond was drafted to do that now. I would like to, but I don't know that we do.
The road has not been accepted by the town.
Correct.
The town has not accepted responsibility for this road yet.
So there still is the opportunity for the town to protect that road, because we haven't said to the town meeting that we accept it, and so should you. So if something gets screwed up in it, we just keep holding off acceptance of the road. Or because of the wetlands or whatever.
I would like to think that we wouldn't accept the road until the affordable housing units are built.
I agree.
But we already know what's gonna happen.
But the street acceptance is separate from the security bond issue.
Yes, it
And
is.
Correct.
What we
But-
talked about last week, and I think the issue that's before us tonight, is do we have any basis to continue to hold, what is it, $80,000 or
It's
71,000?
71.
When our engineer, peer reviewer, is telling us that all of the work that was the requirements for the bond has been completed, and as I understand the new memo that they provided, the only potential damage they're worried about is erosion control
Erosion
that might
control.
go into the drainage infiltration system. But if that happens, it's going to be the contractor or the contractor's insurers that would be on the hook for that. So
Right.
my concern, and what I raised last month, was this is a contractual obligation, and we could very well be in breach if we do not release the funds at this point.
And this is not the only leverage we have.
Right, we don't have to accept the street at street acceptance time, that's.
Yeah, but I'm fine with releasing the funds on this.
Well, we're
Because
going to vote, so.
I think so I'm speaking personally,
Okay.
but we have to make it very clear that that road acceptance is not going to be accepted by the town, and people are going to be involved in this project until those two, whatever they're going to build, affordable units are occupied, or at least sold, or whatever they do, rented. I don't understand how that works, or how they're going to do it, because that's our leverage, right?
It's not our leverage, it's the town's
It's the
leverage.
town's
We
leverage.
are
So-
working for the town, right? So it is our leverage as the
Well,
town.
no, but, we can already see what's gonna happen here. I mean, we're so concerned about not being in breach of the bond, when it's already been communicated to us that the developer intends to breach the term of the approval. And we already know what's gonna happen at town meeting. There's gonna be a parade of individuals who are gonna stand up, talk about how important it is, they live in this development, it's important that the town accept the road and what. We don't know what's gonna happen to that road when this development eventually occurs. And that's just my concern.
I don't disagree with that. I wish that any one of the members of this board had been on the board that approved this, but we weren't.
The only thing I have in my head, and I'm not as educated in all this as many people around this table, is I go back to, there was supposed to be an affordable unit there. Was that lot determined from the beginning, or was it going to be any lot? Because if it was any lot, it's still not done yet. So I don't know how we can release that, because right, so it's like, if they said it was always going to be lot 17 or lot 21, whatever it was, but it was some random, we didn't even have the ability to know where that would, you see what maybe I'm not making sense.
Yeah, but
I think it was
I-
identified, that lot.
either
It's always been
way,
always identified
I think
at that lot?
it's
Okay.
either way, the thing we're talking about, though, to Dan's point, is a bond for certain delineated work which has been completed.
Yeah, let it go.
Which is
We got to
just-
move on. I just want to make sure that we are aware, and it's recorded, that we're going to be watching this.
Oh, yeah, I think that's clear.
And that the developer has to be very clearly on record, and every developer.
I think that's clear, right?
Yeah.
Peter?
All right, so do we need to make a motion to release?
Yeah, so it's up to you. You did make a motion to release a partial bond, I believe, at the last, did you make that motion
We
at the
did,
last meeting?
and it was approved.
So, but with new information, and if you decide to release the full bond, we do have those documents available. You probably should motion for that, yeah.
Do you have an amount? So we can get the motion
Let's see,
right?
what's the
Total
motion that
balance?
we need to? Has the other money already been released?
No,
No,
we did not file that.
no, it hasn't been released yet. The total amount is 153,900 that's being held.
Yep.
At the last meeting, you authorized release
I'm
of the
sorry, I'm
holdback
trying to
funds
listen
in the
to
amount
staff.
of 81,200.
Mr. Newman, I'm sorry, we're having a conversation with staff. Could you just hold on for a moment?
Oh, okay, sorry.
No,
I
no.
thought,
Yeah, so to release the full amount is $153,900.
Right, but we've already released 80-something thousand.
But it hasn't been released.
I know,
That's-
but we've already voted to release.
So we can
Right.
rescind that motion and create a new one for the whole balance?
We're do a
Do that.
move for the,
Second.
difference.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Can I, Mr. Newman, do you have the number that we voted to release?
yes, I do.
What is it?
At the last meeting, the board authorized the release of 81,200, which is referred to as holdback funds. The balance is 72,700, which was not released as of the last meeting.
So we can do it in two parts.
Yeah, so you already did vote to release the 81,200. So now you can just make a motion to release the additional 72,700.
$72,000.
So I move that the board releases the remaining $72,700 on the spring.
Second.
Right, we're gonna go to vote? All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Can you repeat that motion, please? Someone was coughing and I couldn't catch it clearly.
The motion was to release the remaining $72,700 on the Spring Hill Farm security bond.
and it was seconded by Peter Clay.
Right.
And now we're going to a vote. All in favor?
I think we have to do roll call because they're on Zoom.
Oh, yeah, we got a roll call. Mr. Clay?
Yes.
Mr. Pascarello?
I,
Weeks says aye.
Anderson, no.
Woodland, aye.
I'm sorry, Rick, what was?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So 4-1. Okay.
So thank you, and Rick, you do know a lot. You know a lot about affordable housing that many of us don't, so.
second.
All in favor? The next item on the agenda is the MBTA Communities discussion. And there are a number of things in the, on the list here. There's the letter that went from the town to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, which was sent on October 1st after we met last and had a conversation about,
Yeah.
okay, actually it was after the September meeting, right? When we had a conversation, and then the select board determined to hold off until after the Supreme Judicial Court had heard argument and issued a decision in the Milton case. The argument was October 7th. We don't have a decision yet. We got a letter back from EOHLC on the 10th of October, and then the select board also got another letter October 25th. and it lists the consequences of noncompliance with the Mass General Law that we're all talking about, Chapter 40A, Section 3A. And the consequences were that we are not able to use a $65,000 grant from the community planning program. And I understand there was another grant that went in that is also in question about whether we're going to be able to receive it. Do you have more information that you can offer us on that? I had heard
I
a
think
very large number.
I think Kate had another grant. This was the one that I put in for, to update the subdivision rules and regulations, the 65,000. That was the grant that we got, but because we're not going to be in compliance as of January 1st, they won't issue us that grant.
Is this one of the 4 areas that were originally listed? So, okay, that's where I'm having trouble. Go ahead, but keep going, I'm sorry.
No, that's all, I wanted to let you know that it's the $65,000. That was not one of the 4 listed in the legislature. It was the list of, I think, 9 or 10 other grants.
Potential.
Potential, yeah, that will take into consideration compliance. Now, from the letter they're giving us, they're saying,
I'll read it. EOHLC will not sign a contract for this grant award with a community that is non-compliant. And as of January 1st, 2025, we will be non-compliant. All of this for the people who have said, you know, we don't take any of that money, so why does it matter? It actually does matter. $65,000 is not nothing for this town. Thank you. Sorry, I'm off my soapbox now. You can continue.
But I'm on the other soapbox, which is, it wasn't one of the 4 that was in the legislation.
Nope.
Isn't that what Milton's all about? One of the
Yes.
things it's about?
Yep.
Yes.
So do we want to write a letter back to EHLOC saying that it was not one of the 4 in the legislation, and get an attorney to write it, whatever, from our council to start pushing this? And do we then, reach out to Milton? And, because this is the kind of thing that, it's not in the legislation. We think it's going to be adjudicated onto the Supreme Court, but I think we need to show our dismay in how they're not following the legislation by garnishing these funds or prohibiting these funds from being released.
We're waiting for the Supreme Judicial Court to issue its opinion, and I don't know. I mean, I understand the desire to have the town make a statement like that, but we're not going to join the case.
But at least we should get back to EHLOC and tell them what we perceive is the problem with their decision.
Well, 2 things. 1, I think that's probably a letter from the select board, not from us.
Okay.
Correct.
2, I think it's premature with respect, because the SJC is gonna weigh in on this issue. And I don't wanna read the tea leaves too much, but my suspicion is that these guidelines are likely gonna get thrown out for one
Toast.
reason or another. Which means we won't be non-compliant, because there won't be anything to comply with.
Except those 4 original in the legislation.
Well, and
Well, we won't.
the statute, the deadline for compliance is statutory.
No, the deadline for compliance is from the guidelines.
Correct.
So
Oh,
if the
all right.
guidelines get thrown out, there's no deadline and there's no non-compliance, and we should be able to get the grant. So we just have to wait to see
Okay,
what happens.
let's wait.
I don't know if the EOHLC
Yeah,
is
you
going to
should
take
probably
that
speak into
position.
the mic.
Then it doesn't matter what position they take, it just matters what the SJC says.
Well, no, it does, because they're the ones that control the funds.
If the SJC throws out the
Then we
guidelines,
join the case.
Well, no, then it's a separate case, I think, for a separation of powers
But-
issue.
But yeah,
right, but if the SJC throws out the guidelines, because let's just say that they accept the argument that they didn't comply with 30A and adopt these.
But see, it's non-compliance with MGL, not with the guidelines.
Well,
The MGL still mandates that you have a reasonable district.
there's no deadline in the
but
MPO.
it doesn't say by when.
I don't know that that's required for them to take the position that they are, that we're not in compliance with MGL.
But that's what they're saying here. Wenham is currently in interim compliance until
Right.
December 31st. The town will become non-compliant as of January. So in other words, if the guidelines are voided we spring back to the condition we're in now, which is interim compliance, so they don't have any reason to withhold the money.
I don't even know if we'd be in interim compliance, because it's only interim compliance with the guidelines, right? Like, that's not a,
Well, how would we be out of compliance?
well, we wouldn't be in compliance with the statute, which mandates that the town have an interim, have a reasonable.
I need to check this. I don't believe there's a deadline in the statute itself.
No, it's just
I might be wrong,
it's a
but-
general obligation.
Yes, but my understanding
when?
from watching the arguments, with the oral argument, and this was one of the things that was addressed, was that if the court throws out the guidelines, then Milton would not be out of compliance because there's no deadline for them to be in compliance with yet. They would have to, EOHLC would have to go through the 30A process and do this correctly, right? Which is gonna take some time.
I guess my point is just that even if so Jan 1 comes, we don't get the funds. We still need to do the project. If EOHLC gets stung on this one, I don't think that, let's say in February 15th, I don't think they're going to come back and say, we're really sorry we withheld the funds, now we're going to offer them again. I mean, do we actually think they're going to reverse course? So to that point, I just wonder if we need to move forward and put it on the record that we don't think that they have the right to withhold these funds. Or are we waiving nothing by not doing that?
I mean, that's a question about this particular grant,
Right.
right? So, I guess
Yeah.
that goes back to my first point. Is that a letter from us or a letter from the select board?
Can I ask a
There's
different
no deadline in
question?
3A.
Let's decide whether or not we're gonna send a letter, and then we can decide who's
Well,
the letter's gonna come from.
I think anything to do with money and commitments by the town on money and the acceptance of money needs to come from the select board. It's not a planning board issue.
No, I'm just making a different point, Ann. That
Okay.
is, we need to decide, whether we wanna send a letter as a town, and, yeah, okay, it comes from the select board.
Yeah.
I mean, it
But-
can be a joint letter from the two boards, but.
Because
I think
the
you
money
probably
was gonna
select
come to
board.
us,
But I
but
think the issue is, are we going to send a letter at all at this point in time?
I would like us to do that. I would like us to be on record with EHLC that we do not agree, and we're gonna watch what's going on, and just let them know we're here, watching them.
Yeah, I don't agree with the conclusion that EOHLC has drawn in this letter, that we would be out of compliance.
So there were two letters. One of them is the congratulations on getting the grant.
I get the
Right.
That was
letters
sent to
mixed up.
Steve Poulos. because
That's the
he
October
sends
10th
in-
letter.
Yeah, he sends in the application.
and then the October 25th letter is the one in which they say, you're in interim compliance now, but as of January 1, you'll be out, and,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Town's not eligible, as of today, the town is not eligible for this housing joint.
No, the.
Oh, that's not
we're-
the.
Yeah,
other one.
right now, we're eligible for everything except for housing choice because we're not a housing choice. community.
EOHLC will not sign a contract for the grant award. Can they sign, can they sign the contract for the
So-
grant award before December 31st?
No, they're not, that's
They're-
what they're saying. We're not gonna sign any of these contracts till after January 1st, and then we'll determine whether you're compliant or not. We won't be under current guidelines because the deadline is December 31st. So that's what they're telling us. So this letter of, congratulations that you got this grant is great, but then the other one says, yeah, you got it, but
Forget it.
But
I'm
sorry,
gonna give it to you. 'cause you're
yeah,
not gonna
maybe
comply.
they got the select board's letter after they issued the grant letter. Well,
I think
do-
if the planning board wants to draft a letter or say something, we could send it to the select board and ask them to also endorse a letter.
I think we should,
EOHLC.
I would take a motion from the planning, from a member of the planning board to ask this, what I wanted to say, to direct or to give the select board the sense of the planning board that a letter should be submitted by the town back in response to this October 25th letter.
So moved.
But what would you want them to say in the letter?
That we object to
Objecting
them withholding funds when we're not that are part of a program that is not included in the statute.
Yes.
And
Okay.
we are,
Do we need to make a motion? What do you think? Do you want to make a motion?
there's already a motion on the floor.
Okay,
Second.
all right,
As amended by Chairwoman.
okay. And I'll put something together. I'll send it out to you all, and then we can
Yeah, I mean, we
let the
can,
select board know.
help with drafting. I certainly helped
Do you wanna draft
draft the other one, so.
I'm happy to help as well.
Okay. Just that
So do
we
we
do
vote?
object.
We vote,
I think we need to vote on the motion on the floor. Mr. Clay,
yes.
Mr. Pascarello,
Aye.
I'm going to say aye.
Anderson, aye.
Anderson?
Woodland, aye.
Woodland? Thank you.
That was unanimous?
It was.
Thank you.
We are breezing right through this tonight.
Well, that's the beauty of an administrative agenda.
Now,
So, yeah, so the next item is, we had talked about the submission requirements for,
Sorry, before you get, what is the last bullet, future of MBTA 3A zoning amendments?
Yeah, I mean, we
Oh,
don't have anything to do tonight.
we're going to bring it forward in spring, I guess. If it's going to be on the spring, town meeting, we're gonna have to start in December. For having public hearings, getting public
I don't
hearing,
think we can start.
so we don't wanna start.
We can't start until the,
we have the decision from
Okay.
the SJC.
Okay.
'Cause we don't know
I mean,
what
the
we're gonna
town
do.
has already said we're not going to do anything until we have a decision from the, I mean, isn't that
So
what
we'll
this
just-
letter
we'll just
says?
let it lie.
And if it doesn't make Springtown meeting, it doesn't make it.
Okay.
That's right. I mean,
It's not our,
I mean, that would be a 6-hour town meeting. Compared with the budget, that would be insane.
going to have be a special
schools.
town
We're
meeting
gonna have to have a
anyway.
special in the fall for
Okay.
zoning.
We can have special anytime.
You
can't
can
we?
have it anytime, yeah.
I
you
know,
can have it.
but just to spread it out,
All right.
you know.
Okay, so that's the last bullet.
But look, I know we wanna move fast, but like,
we're not, you think this is fast?
for us,
compared to some of the last meetings, yeah.
what, can we just briefly chat about what happens next? I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen with the SJC, but if we assume for the moment that it gets struck down and they're back to the drawing board, do we wanna talk about how we wanna approach that strategically, or how we can get ahead of this?
I mean, we have a zoning ordinance.
Well, we have one flavor for sure.
So we can modify it, is my point.
Yeah,
But I would prefer, I'm just going to state my own personal preference here. I would prefer us to look at the master plan and what zoning needs to happen to implement the master plan, rather than focus so much on 3A.
I couldn't
it's-
agree more.
Okay, good.
Like, because I think that this is about to get,
There's a butt coming.
no, there is zero, there's no but, this is a full-fledged belly flop into the pool, which is that this whole conversation, and we've talked about this before a little bit,
Making too much
has
noise.
been the kind of split, the dichotomy of no on 3A, yes on 3A, but that's not really what the question is, and it really doesn't get to the heart of the issue, which is the master plan.
Right.
So what I'm wondering is, like, there is a world in which,
Do it all at once, do it all at once.
Rip the Band-Aid
It's
off.
really worth
Those
it.
were noisy bags. I'm sorry.
we don't want to be sitting in, June. Well, we want to have an alternative that we actually want, right, that's consistent with the master plan. And how do we go about developing that so we can, because that's going to take some time.
Well, I've reached out, and it's too early to really talk about it, but I have reached out to the Affordable Housing Trust to see how with CPA and planning, zoning, and Affordable Housing Trust, we can start doing that. So I should have a meeting in the next couple of days with the chair of the AHT to start talking about fulfilling this. We want diverse housing options, keeping in the character of the town, if I want to quote the master plan. So there is something going on, I think, out there. I can't speak much yet to it, but just to make people feel more comfortable that, yeah, I think we are looking for alternative development styles and plans to meet the goals of 3A, but not in such a draconian manner.
And including trying to figure out where in town it's
Yes.
appropriate to do that.
Yes. And what it should look like, and how big it should be, and is it one-offs, is it a neighborhood, is it, yeah, all that.
So you're going to have a meeting between now and when we meet next?
Yes,
And can you report back on?
yes, I could. Mhm,
That'd be
yes.
awesome.
Mhm.
So if we're gonna
Mr. P.
come up with some sort of alternative before we know what the decision is, then you have to use the statutory parameters, which means, because I think
15
everybody
units
agrees,
per
the
acre.
statute itself is not gonna get thrown out,
Right.
right?
Which
So-
unfortunately is
reasonable.
not in our favor.
So if you're gonna try to come up with an alternative, what we know from the statute is it's gotta be within a half mile of the station area or station, and it has to have a density of at least 15 units per acre. So that's what you have to work with. I mean, I can't say, who's to say that 3 or 4 acres isn't enough, right? If that's a reasonable size.
Who's to say the town's gonna pass the statute?
I mean, the
No,
town
no,
doesn't get to pass the statute,
No,
it's
no, no.
passed.
Yeah, but if the town says, no, we're not doing 3A, and we go into default status, then we lose the funds, whatever.
But this is,
No,
the-
he's,
this
Dave's
is the whole
just saying,
point,
do
though,
we wanna come up with an alternative?
is like, before 3A, the 3A elephant entered the
No, that's not what
room,
he's saying.
we had a beautiful master plan that talked about a better Wenham, a Wenham that has more inclusive spaces, more diversity of spaces, increased community gathering, diversification of housing type, mixed-use developments, diversifying the tax base. And the 3A gorilla kind of jumped onto the chest of that whole discussion. But I still think that that was the sense of the community. And I think, you know, my
Well, you can
hope,
identify the area where,
and the zoning and part of a bigger plan, I mean,
But I mean, play this out though, right? Let's say we come up with an alternative, and you have multifamily housing, and mixed use, and it's somewhere near the train station or wherever.
within half a mile.
Yep, and it's
How much
only,
is
I don't
easy?
know, 8 units per acre instead of the 15 units per acre. I understand that's an alternative, but if we are then subsequently required to do 3A zoning after that because of how the decision comes out, I mean, we'll be duplicating effort, and we may be taking things off the table, so.
I probably would not suggest that the town adopt anything until we get guidance from the SJC and then from the EOHLC. But I would also say, like, one of the most, I think, potent arguments against the guidelines has been the loss of local control. Not necessarily the most potent legal argument, but the most potent political argument, is that what right does Beacon Hill have, after what they did in the seaport and everything else, to come into our small towns and tell us that we have to increase our housing stock by 25%? So we know what's reasonable for our town. We just have to ask the departments. We just have to figure out what is the reasonable amount of development. But the sense of the town is already that there should be some further mixed-use development. And I think we should explore that as a thought for, like, what does Wenham want? So at least we have that in our back pocket.
We're not going to be done with the zoning ordinance amendment before the Supreme Judicial Court issues its opinion, and we shouldn't wait to start talking.
And
is my
I'm
view.
talking, this is gonna be a 2 or 3 year project. I mean, this is not something that is just gonna like spring out of
Yeah.
nowhere either.
I-
So we're just, I shouldn't even brought it up. We're just having some initial conversations
No,
to
no, I'm
see how
glad you
these things
did.
could work. And, you know, with public-private cooperation to reach the goals of the master plan.
And,
Right.
and can I just clarify a question? Aren't we supposed to be executing the master plan?
Yeah. So let's do it.
So,
But-
so we don't have to come up with anything new, we already, you guys.
Well,
all
we
done-
have to write the zoning,
Right.
and we have to decide where it goes.
Okay.
And, you know, we know that some of it has to be within half a mile of train station, because that's not going away, that's here. And the other thing that's not going away is the guidelines. They're going to come, there will be some guidelines, because it says, shall promulgate guidelines. I don't think they're going to throw out that part of the statute,
No, but they'll be
but they'll be different. and they're-
promulgated under 30A with, right?
correctly, right, but they could take the same ones they have now and do a rulemaking and finalize them, and we'd be
could-
right where we started.
I suppose so. But
Because because you
But
were
I
on the
don't think
SJC, wouldn't you take
but-
the procedural out?
I think, well, I don't know if I would, because there's some momentous questions in that.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna come right back to them, so,
But even if they remand the guidelines and the guidelines change some, there will be guidelines.
yes, but what I was gonna say is, I think one of the changes, and this goes to your point, Dave, I think if they go through 30A, they can't just arbitrarily change those guidelines after they've been adopted, right? Which has been one of the complaints.
Yeah.
Which is that, look, EOHLC has changed these things like 2 or 3 times. Who's to say, and we heard these arguments at the public forum and the
Yep.
folks who came here that said, who's to say after you adopt this that they're
They
not gonna
won't
change
change
the
them again.
guidelines again and you're not
Yeah.
gonna be in compliance and you're
Right.
gonna have to do something else.
Right.
Which is a fair point. So, but I think if they go through the correct procedure, they can't do that.
Right.
They're more locked in. And
Right.
it's not as easy to change them. They have to
Right, they have
go
to have a
through the process
basis.
again.
They have to.
And during the
Yeah.
rulemaking procedure, I think this town, I don't know if we did
Needs to
before,
participate.
we would put in a very significant comment about the lack of water. What, 58% of the state is in severe drought right now in November? Like, there are issues with just mandating 25% increase in a housing stock that they're not taking any consideration of.
And when they took the money out to connect Salem and Beverly to the MWRA in that big bond bill to support this effort, was just, to me, a kick in the face to the Ipswich River people, because that was one of our ways we could do this kind of development.
Right.
Because those 2 big towns would be off of Ipswich Water, and the legislature, whoever, took it out of the bond bill.
Right.
The other question I have is, if we, I know this probably would never happen, but if we adopted a district that we contended was 3A compliant, and the guidelines were promulgated afterward, would we be grandfathered in?
I don't know how you'd continue with 3A compliant without a 15 unit per acre district.
15, yeah, but of a reasonable size.
Well,
So
'cause
it's for up to
Well-
us to decide what's
the
reasonable.
Statute says that the agency will promulgate guidelines to determine compliance, right?
Well, if they haven't yet, then, and we adopt a zoning.
I
But
don't know
we're
the
not
answer
going
to
to
your
do that
question.
by the time the SJC is.
Can I ask a question?
Well, before the guidelines are promulgated was my point.
Oh, I
That
see,
could
next
take
year.
years
That's true.
to get.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
Could
'cause
we
that'll
have
be
zoned,
remanded.
could we have zoned existing residential property as this? I mean, house values are so expensive in Wenham. Could we have just said both sides of 1A for how many square feet we needed to? No, I'm being serious. That we went and
could
looked for
have done
open
that,
space. We
sure.
went and looked for open space.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot easier to develop. What if we said, oh, no, it's going to be these $1 million homes right along Main Street? You got to buy them, you got to tear them down, you got to get the okay to do it, and you got to buy multiple ones in that area to put together a big enough space to build that density.
It's not any different than what we did, because you still don't have a willing buyer or developer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like, and there's no water and sewer.
I know. I'm trying to think of a different way to look at it, because we went down this whole road of finding
It's
open
just-
space,
You would just
essentially.
have a different set of people in here yelling at you. Mr. Anderson might be out in the,
Just, yeah, if I could, so
Sorry, Jay.
I know right now
Not you.
Wenham is looking at this as saying, oh, you know, they're gonna put these big buildings in this small area. But in your master plan discussion, you talked about increasing housing throughout the community, not just in this one small area. And I think
Right.
as this, I don't know what's gonna happen with the Milton case, but I think as time goes on, there's opportunities for this town to create zoning that allows for different types of housing, not 15 units per acre. but,
Right.
You know, 4 units per acre, or, you know, the smaller homes, smaller lots, that creates housing for that missing middle. And that's what the state is pushing, that's what this 3A is all about, the missing middle. But unfortunately, what I see is developers are saying, oh, great, we can put 15, 35
well,
units.
the statute says 15 units an
Yeah,
acre is the
right.
problem.
Yeah,
I think that,
I think we have the ability in
I
Wenham
think-
to create other
I
zoning.
think if
in
we
our-
start talking about implementing the master plan and think about places within the town, that
Yep.
where different kinds of housing could go. I think that would be a step in the right direction.
So to jump in the Wayback Machine for a second, before the MBTA issue came up, we were talking about, I think we were talking about two things for this, right? It was, where would we wanna have multifamily in
Right.
town? And the other thing is dropping the 1 acre parcel restriction, right? To talking about an overlay district that might have, I don't know if it's an overlay district, but just something that would allow lots of sizes lesser than an acre, right? So those were the two categories of things that came up.
Yeah, I agree. If you drive down Linebrook Road in Ipswich, you'll see some kind of developments they've been doing there. They're condos. They need trees, granted.
Yeah.
But they're a lot closer together. They're more than 1 per acre. You know, my envision is kind of a village thing where we could maybe, I'm going to talk a little bit out of school. In my crazy brain, or my dreamer brain, 5 or 10 acres that we could peel off or purchase. Maybe CPA could fund it and bond it so that we reduce the cost to the developer. Look for a developer that'd be interested in building 1,200 square foot homes, 4 per acre, 5 per acre, shared septic, shared services, build a community that's all its own, where people who are on the young end of young families, single people, young couples, and seniors could also find places to go to that aren't 1.5 and up. So that's kind of my idea for affordable housing that I want to share. I have not shared it with Huntley, but I think it was coming up here. How do we do it? You know, what does it look like? And that's kind of what I'm thinking in my head of trying to get somebody to work together with that.
I think that's a great vision.
So that's where
I
my
think
head's
that's
at.
one kind of,
It's a concept.
that's
It's just a-
one concept. I think that doesn't preclude another concept, which is infill of more than, 5 units per acre.
That's right.
In
That's right.
a building. I
But we
still
gotta
go
get
back
started.
to that, I still go back to that building in Hamilton that has the bakery on the floor. The
Willow
front,
Street.
on Willow Street.
Apartment.
It's a beautiful
That's
little
18
apartment
units.
building. It has 18 units on
It's
what,
on 1 acre.
5 acres, 2 acres?
1 acre.
1 acre.
It's barely.
You
an
wouldn't even, not even know it was there when you were
Right.
driving by. In fact, I bet you have driven by and don't know.
No, I know it's there. I'm very
And
well
there's-
aware because it's
there's
affordable housing.
All the little, yes, exactly.
That's right. That's why I know it's there.
And what
Section
is
8
wrong with
as
that?
well.
It's wonderful, it's beautiful, so,
So
and
can I
unless
make
people live here.
a recommendation that, as we go through this process, we do have parts of our town that are not 1 acre lot zoning.
We do.
Like, if we look at sort of
Bucher
some of the
area.
historical
Yeah.
parts of town.
Lake
The-
Avenue area.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we're looking at.
Yep.
My
those are
neighborhood.
Quarter acre, half acre, I mean, so we should look at those.
I've been researching the zoning laws that were changed in 1955 and 1957 and a little earlier than that. So I'm doing research as to why the zoning was changed from smaller lots to 1 acre minimums. And I'm doing that with help of Diane, who's going through the records with me. But I'm trying to find out what the justification was for making that change. Now, I had heard that from older people in town that it was because we didn't have town water everywhere yet. So people had to have a well and a septic. And on smaller lots, they couldn't always get it to work or perk and be properly far enough away. So they're having trouble having enough space for the house and the septic and the water. So I'm trying to verify that as well to see why we went to there. Was it an attempt at exclusionary zoning, or was it an attempt to just get the water right?
Make sure that you had.
Had
enough
safe water to drink.
water.
So that's what I'm researching right now.
Septic systems are definitely an issue in lot size.
What does
but
Title V require? Do you know?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I know like that 18-unit building has a septic system
Yes.
on 1 acre of land that's, sufficient for 18 units plus.
A creative septic, I'm sure it's creative.
Tight tank or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're expensive to install, but they work. I mean, they're
Yeah.
able to be put on
There's a
small
lot of
lots.
options now,
Yeah.
newer options
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
make it
Sorry, I don't want to.
feasible.
No, no,
Whatever.
this is, this is what we need to do. This
Yeah.
is our job, so.
Okay.
So maybe we can get a report out next time
Yes, excuse me, I
Please.
will. I will, yes.
and move on from there. I have you, Mr. Anderson, as discussing planning board submission requirements and changes to our bylaws or our, we were gonna look at the provisions in the, for planning board procedure,
Yeah, so,
submission requirements.
Margaret, you might have heard this last time. I went far and wide and looked at like all the jurisdictions. It was very interesting. And what I saw was, most of them are teed to like, at full applications. And it's very interesting, like Beverly, how they do it, right? They say like, if the meeting is tonight, the application has to be in like 3 weeks ago, and then they're very clear that the first meeting will be to schedule the public hearing, which I thought was interesting. And that's all well and good, but I didn't see anything that I was kind of anticipating for the benefit of staff and the board, which was anything that's to be heard on a meeting has to be submitted by
Yes.
X, Y, and Z deadline. And so that's what I had in mind for everyone's benefit.
In the document that I gave you. So
It's
this
in
is
our
what-
packets.
These
It's
are
the-
our current administrative rules and regulations. They were written by an attorney, and no offense to any attorneys who might be in the
No, there aren't any attorneys here.
They, they're wordy, they're somewhat maybe difficult to understand in some places. There's one section that we discussed this.
Was this 3 submissions?
Yeah,
or-
so submissions, and then, no, further on down, outside, keep going, blah, 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 blah. A lot of on that. So once you get into hearings, we do talk a little bit about, when information to be furnished to the board. So it's in advance of the hearing, we don't specify
I mean, that
the
could be
date.
like
So
an
here's a
hour
little
before the
sample.
hearing.
Yeah, here's a sample that I found, that, you tell people the agenda's closing for your meeting on a certain date, 12 PM on the Wednesday of the week preceding such meeting. Anything that's not into our office the Wednesday before your hearing,
Oops.
and not just the first hearing, this is subsequent hearings. Anything that's not in in the office by 12 PM on Wednesday, the week preceding, will not be put on the board's agenda. That's just an example. I don't know whether that's something that you think might give people that understanding that, yeah, if I don't have it the Wednesday before, they're not getting it. Because I do like to have your
Yeah.
agendas done on Thursday before your meeting. So it's a week before. Is it time enough? Do you know?
Is it time enough for you? So if you're gonna get something on Wednesday and it's gotta go in the packet on Thursday,
Yep.
if you need to review it or send it out to somebody else for review, does that give you enough
Determine
time?
whether it's even ready to come to.
Correct.
So say we get a peer review on the Wednesday before the meeting. That peer review can go on your agenda, but the response to the peer review can't go on the agenda. And the applicant would know that. We would say, look, here's the peer review. You'll have, then you run into that issue of, well, we're gonna respond to this, today. We just got it Wednesday, we're gonna respond to it, we wanna bring it to the meeting. That's part of the problem with the planning board, and I don't know whether it's statutory, but you're supposed to accept things at your meeting. In the old days, planning boards, we didn't have, I wasn't here in the old days. We didn't have a lot of this. People brought things to the meeting and said, here's the information that you needed, you requested from your last meeting, here's that information. Then the board would take it and say, okay, now we're gonna look at it over the next month, and we'll get back to you in
You
a
wouldn't
month.
be voting on it that night.
Wouldn't be voting on it that
I think
night.
now
You
the
don't have to.
expectation is, I'm turning it in the day before, and you guys are gonna vote on it tomorrow.
Well,
We can
and that's a
say no.
little bit of the issue, right, is that a lot of developers are coming before us and saying, oh, I'll take care of that, or I'll deal with that, and we kind of just let that pass. I mean, I think the emphasis has to really be on it needs to be buttoned up the Wednesday before the meeting. That's the burden of the developer. That's not the burden on this board or even on staff.
So by buttoned up, you mean if Margaret
Finished.
had any questions, or that you've gone back and forth and resolved those questions, so Margaret could present it to us as the final.
Everything's resolved.
So then it's not the
So-
Wednesday before, it's like the Monday before.
Or much
Can I-
before, yeah.
Correct.
Draw your attention to the sentence above the red, which is, any legal memorandum has to be submitted 14 days in advance of the hearing. So that's in order to give council, town council, an opportunity to look at it.
Yeah, that
So
was your
in-
original language, yep.
Right, so in the same way, it's absolutely, to my view, I mean, I don't know whether we need 14, well, Margaret
How
needs
much
14
notice do you-
days, but a week is certainly reasonable.
You're only providing 14 days notice of the hearing though, right?
Yes, it's 14 days notice in the newspaper for the
Right.
hearing, so I don't know whether that's what that's
So
referring to.
I think that language, I'm okay with the Wednesday before. And if we're, if we're concerned about responses to peer reviews, I mean, we can have our peer reviewers issue their response a week before that or whatever. But I think this has to be limited to applicants. Because
Yeah.
we're gonna have situations where you can have abutters come in opposing projects and they're not gonna learn about these hearings
Oh,
until
yeah.
a few
Yeah,
days.
no,
I agree with
This
that.
is just the developer.
Right, so-
Yes,
This
yeah.
is for
Yeah.
applicants.
Okay, so as long as it's only applicants, because if a neighbor comes in and, they hand you a letter from a lawyer.
Well, how is this
Absolutely,
written
absolutely.
right now?
Dan,
Yeah.
could you pull the microphone closer to you?
Yes.
Catherine's having a-
Except for emergencies or compliance with legal requirements,
Yeah.
the agenda, blah, blah, blah.
So,
blah.
I mean, we could, so say you're having a hearing tonight, and they give you the information, and we get it to the peer reviewer. We
Yeah.
say you have to have it to the peer reviewer by the end of next week. That gives the peer, and then the peer reviewer would have 5 days. So in that month, if we said, we'll get the peer review back by this date, you have to get your response back by this date.
Oh, hold on,
But
hold on.
I think
Give them the
this,
timeframes?
Wait, so hold on.
No.
We have, when they apply, they have 90 days, is that right? If, assuming there has been a,
No, if they apply, they have 65 days to hold a hearing.
we have 65
Yes.
days.
You have 65 days to hold a hearing. It's for a special permit. Subdivisions are different.
It's 90 or 105, depending on whether or not there was a preliminary subdivision
You
approval.
need to give your, yes, your approval or non-approval. They're always,
but before
an
the
applicant's
hearing.
always going to request a continuance, because if they don't, you say, all right, we'll deny it, because we'd still.
But anyway, a week before the hearing seems plenty of time.
No, but wait, but let's just think this through for a sec. So maybe I should have done this before. So 90 days, it should be 3 meetings.
Should be.
So,
Oh, yeah.
anybody that's bringing a plan, if they're filing it, they should believe that it is in compliance with our subdivision rules and regs. So, it gets filed, and then what's the next step?
When it's
Gets
filed
reviewed
in
by
our
staff.
office, I notify staff, I send it out to the staff for review, and then we give it to you guys. I will get
Sometimes it
peer
goes out
review
to peer
started,
review too.
but I don't always do that, because technically, you're supposed to get it, look at it, and then say, yep, we're
This
gonna
needs
do
peer
peer review.
review.
They have to give us a check before we can contract with a peer reviewer. So that's where there's a little holdup.
Right.
So I can always say to an applicant, I send it to a peer review and I get an estimate, how much we think it's gonna cost, and then I'll tell them, this is what it's gonna cost, and they can give me a check. But I usually don't stop peer review until after you guys see it for the first time.
So that's 30
On a
days.
subdivision.
That's
That-
30 days.
That's
That's the 30 days.
going to be no more than 30 days.
Yeah.
Then how long does peer review take?
Typically, they'll get it back to us within 2 weeks,
Okay, so
once they get it.
so 15 days. So 45 days out, and then there's a rebuttal to that, which
Right.
comes back when? Within another 15 days?
It will typically,
But if they want to see it at the next planning board meeting, they'll have to get it to you by the Wednesday before the,
yes.
if not, then it
They would only have
goes
a week to respond.
pushed out, correct?
Yeah, and again, it depends on the peer review. Sometimes they'll turn it around in 2 days. Sometimes they'll turn it around and say, oh, we can't do it for 2 weeks.
But in the worst case, it is they have to have it to you
Yeah.
about 10 days
Yeah.
after they get it.
So in theory, from application to rebuttal is 60 days.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah,
should be.
60 days is enough time to get a peer review done and a response to that peer review. But as you've seen, they don't always check off all the boxes of the peer review, and has to go another round.
And we
But
get a
that's when
continuance.
there's- Yeah, and then they continue. That's when
But I
there's
think what we're
issues.
trying to avoid is, I think
but
it was
that's
in
not-
Arbor Street, where
Yeah.
it was the engineer, he was he wasn't a lawyer,
Yes.
they had an engineer, and he was responding to peer review, and we were getting stuff like the night of our hearings.
Right,
And he
Which
was
was-
sending us
yeah.
2 and 3 different versions in a week.
yes.
So that's what, I mean,
So-
I'd be okay if it doesn't even have to be the Wednesday, I mean, if it's like noon on the Thursday before our meeting.
Well, I mean, it's up to,
Yeah,
I
it's
think
Margaret's
Margaret
It's workload.
should say what your workload looks like.
Yeah.
If it, between noon and Wednesday and noon on Thursday, it doesn't affect us so much, but it does affect you.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of just making sure the applicants understand.
Because
this
town hall's
isn't-
closed on
This
Friday.
is, we can't do it rapid fire. You know, this takes a lot of review and response time.
Plus
Right.
you have to post the
Yeah.
agenda 48 hours before the meeting, right?
48 hours for the agenda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you receive a request to do a subdivision or whatever, do you send back to them a confirmation saying, I got this?
I don't.
So what I'm wondering is, if you could, in that
If there was a
confirmation,
formal
it says,
date on it.
correct, that has dates and guidelines on dates, to say, this is not gonna happen really quickly, we have these guidelines we have to follow, and if you don't comply with them, then we just have to keep delaying this.
Right.
And not in a mean way, but just to let them know
Yeah,
that
just, these are
it's
the
rules.
deadlines.
Right, guidelines.
Uh-huh.
And, please be aware that if you don't meet them,
Okay,
you'll be
Then we have to have these
delayed,
things by
and we
Wednesday.
really need to have the material.
so create some kind of a form that
Well, I
says,
think-
look, if it's a subdivision,
We need to authorize that by making this change to these.
yeah,
What are they
well,
called?
this is something, you can vote on these rules and regulations yourself. You can make these changes anytime
Right.
and adopt them.
But at least it
Um,
gives you something
wanna-
to say, the planning board has asked me
Yeah.
formally to do this thing. I would say, to your point, Dan, the words "or others with business before the board," I would drop "or others." So that it reads, "The board will generally not take action on or respond to
Yeah.
plans, proposals, or other material presented by applicants with business before the board," as opposed to others. And by applicants, I think we mean the applicant or its engineer or,
Yep.
everybody associated and paid by the applicant. But that gets rid of the problem of abutters
Mhm.
being able to come in the night of and say,
Right.
"I just heard about this, I have something I have to say."
I mean, a lot of times those people aren't gonna have submissions, but sometimes they'll have counsel.
Sometimes they do.
and Counsel
Yeah.
will come in with a letter, which,
Okay. Well, yeah. let
So
me-
do we, what do we want to do with these? Because I can see that there's some other changes here.
You're right, yeah, there's a lot. I would say, just look at them with your attorney eyes and,
So, well, can we take these away and then bring them back in December and we can
Absolutely.
vote on them then? That would be
one thing I
great.
do want to point out is this section right here, stormwater runoff.
Where are we?
Oh, yes,
What
this
page?
was,
That
we
MS4.
stuck that MS4 in
Yeah,
here.
remember we stuck it in
Yeah,
here?
I do.
So that's gonna have to be moved out. From what I understand, I think they're gonna be moving it, I think we wanna move it into the zoning bylaws, but let me make sure it's not going in the general.
Yes,
But,
It seems like a general, like an erosion control kind of
Yeah, I think it might
thing.
be. Weston and Sampson will be assisting us with that.
if we move it to the zoning bylaw, doesn't that need a 2/3 vote?
Yeah, I think it goes into I think it's a select board thing.
Yeah, it'll have to, and
Punt.
even general will have to go to the town meeting.
Well, no, but is it 2/3 for the general bylaw? It's 2/3 for the zoning bylaw.
Yeah, I think the only difference is if it's for housing, that they've changed that 2/3 requirement.
To one half, right? To a simple majority.
To simple
The select
majority.
board can't just take something that's passed and stick it in there. I
Is
know
the
there has to be a
50
process,
Is the
but
simple majority just for
3A related? So this
Well,
wouldn't be
housing
3A
related.
This isn't 3A related at all.
Right, so if we put it in the zoning bylaw, it's gonna require 2/3 approval.
Yes.
Okay, but if you
But
put
if it
it in
goes in-
general, is it a 2/3 approval, or is it
I
simple?
don't
I don't
know.
know if it is for the general. I'm not sure. We can look into
Okay.
that.
Peter?
I have no idea.
Yeah, okay.
Okay,
So- yeah,
so
there were,
that's,
there were some other things in here, like there was some language in here that, thought was, outdated. Without leave of the chairperson,
Like
no
that.
person shall address a hearing of the board without leave of the chairperson. I thought that language was kind of.
Yeah, let's
that's
leave
like
it.
give you
What is that?
leave. Yeah, it's,
Let's leave, I love that.
And all persons shall, at the request of the chairperson, be silent.
I
So
like
we're
that.
leaving that in.
Well, let's leave that in.
Is there
Who
something
knew I
about a-
had such
Oh,
authority?
disorderly
Is there
behavior.
something about a gavel in there? We can.
I don't have a gavel.
I
May
know, maybe
order
we need to
a
get you one.
constable,
gavel.
may
I have
order
a
a
pencil.
constable to remove him or
Well, we did have a constable at one of these meetings,
We
as
did.
you'll recall.
Yep.
Anyway, I think we should try to move on, because it's 8:15.
Yeah, but I would appreciate, if you guys read this, read through it when you have some time. I'll work on getting some kind of a form so that applicants understand our timeline.
Yes.
For
Okay.
subdivisions as well as special permits.
Like no exceptions.
Right, no exceptions.
Except emergencies, you'll see that in the.
Yeah.
Somebody gonna define emergencies,
Yeah,
right?
well,
it's a kennel.
my cat ate it is not one. Okay, so we have an update on the subdivision rules and regulations. Do
Well,
we
it
have that
actually-
now that we're not getting the money?
Talk 1 minute about the zoning amendments for Springtown meeting.
Oh, I skipped over that, sorry.
So, we're going to have to add the ADUs, because they
Okay.
changed the law on ADUs. They're allowed by right, starting February 15th or something. So, we'll be out of, we're not gonna be out of compliance. This isn't like 3A.
3A, no.
It's just, someone can come in and say, I wanna put on an ADU, and I don't have to go to the ZBA now. Cause right now, they need a special permit from the ZBA. They always grant them. It's not a huge deal, but it saves people a lot of money by not having to go to ZBA, by not
Mhm.
having to post hearing notices and things. So,
Speaking of affordable
but-
housing.
They're not gonna have to come to us either, right?
No.
As long as they're compliant,
No.
but we have to
But we
figure
have
out
to put
how
the-
big those units can be as a
And-
percentage of the original house,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
because-
It's everywhere, right? It's not limited.
It's the whole state, anywhere in a residential district, they're allowed up to 900 square feet is the state's requirement. The state also says you can't require owner occupied. Our regulations currently require one of the units to be occupied by the owner. So, but what the state is saying is, no, you can have a home, you can build an ADU, you don't have to live in it, you can rent out both units. That's what the towns typically try to avoid. So we'll need to get some guidance from town council. I'll talk to Robin before the next meeting, to determine what, how we wanna proceed.
So we
What's
can't
the-
Is there
make
a
it lower.
template,
Okay.
is there a template ordinance floating around
It
somewhere?
will be. I'm pretty sure they'll have some boilerplate language that we'll pick up.
So we can't require it to be less than 900 square feet, but we could allow it to be more than 900 square feet. Is that how it works?
No, we have to allow by right up to 900 square foot.
But we could increase that number if we wanted to.
We could increase that number, oh yeah, we could increase it
Or,
by
Like if
or
a
right.
you could,
percentage.
or you could say you need a special permit if
Yes.
you wanna go above.
I see.
Exactly, or
Okay.
leave, I think we can leave most of our special permit criteria in place if we wanna go over the 900. If someone wants to build over 900, they'd have to come in for special permit.
Now, can an ADU be a separate building on the same lot? Okay.
Yeah.
And is that controlled by the same square footage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It is. In our current bylaw, it's slightly different because you have to have certain square footage of lot, a certain lot area in our bylaw. You have to have at least 40,000 square feet to have an ADU not on the, not connected to the house, to the main house. 20,000 square feet if it's connected to the main house. But that's our current bylaw. So I'll get with Robin. We'll talk about, what the best way to move forward with that is. I think it's gonna be kind of standard for most communities now, adopting the same stuff.
And this is at 1/2, 1/2 plus one vote. I mean, like, just a simple majority through town meeting, because it's housing, correct?
Yes, because it's housing. This will
Yep.
can go through a simple majority.
Great.
Um,
Subdivision rules and regulations update.
Yeah.
Is there any, since we don't have the grant?
Right, so we're not getting the money, but that doesn't mean we can't move forward with it. I did give you the last draft. We've done a lot of work on the subdivision rules and regulations, so we have a couple of drafts. Town council had given one years ago, Weston and Sampson worked on one. I think we need to think about how the subdivision rules and regulations can help get you to the point, that you want with your master plan, to get you some of that, alternative types of, development. The current subdivision and regulation has, open space, an open space residential
Like a cluster?
permit. Yeah, that kind of,
Cluster
well,
housing, they used to call
cluster.
it, yeah.
But it was replaced, not completely officially, by the, flexible development. So we talked a little bit about that. That's how Wenham Pines got built. Flexible development is a special permit that allows people to build the multifamily, not big, huge multifamily, but smaller units,
And with the
smaller
open
lots.
space.
Yeah, and preserving open space, so.
Which is what I was, Margaret and I spoke about this earlier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is excellent. I always thought that, well, not always thought, but when we did Wenham Pines, I thought the, flexible development required, 55 and over, but it does not.
Doesn't.
You can
No,
get a
there was
greater
one.
density with it, which you guys probably recall. So, I don't know, do we wanna, maybe a couple of you get together, sit down, we can work on the subdivision regulations? Or do we wanna hold off, wait for a consultant? Yeah, 'cause I really think it's something we can do. We have some great examples of subdivision regulations.
Yeah, a bird whispered in my ear a town that has a good set that's progressive. Was it Sharon or Canton? One of the two. One has good zoning bylaws, one has good subdivision rules and regs. Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
Right.
We should
Maybe
also
could
get
a
the-
copy.
We should also get we should bring in, at some point, I'd like to put these in front of the
Yes. Climate action.
climate folks, the
Yes.
committee,
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
their input on what they think the priorities are for subdivisions should be, so that we can figure out how we can get those in there within the authority that we have.
And for high-density developments as well. Things like gray water management, solar arrays, all that stuff that we're way behind on in our,
Okay. Subdivision
Might
rules and
not be
regulations
subdivision,
don't
might
go to
be
town
zoning.
meeting.
no.
That's something this board adopts on your own. You don't need
Right.
to send them to town meeting. You would have a public hearing.
Subdivision rules and regs we can do ourselves?
Yep.
Ah, okay, great.
And subdivision rules and regs are about the subdivision of land. They're not zoning
Zoning.
things.
Yeah. The zoning, though, addresses frontage and lot size.
Right.
That, I don't know whether this committee wants to start to think about that. Is lot size, the 40,000 square foot, 170-foot frontage?
Well, that's what we were
Big,
just
right,
discussing,
what we were
right?
just
So,
talking
yeah,
about.
I think so, but that's different than the subdivision rules, right?
Right, that would be a zoning change, for sure,
Do we
dimensional.
want to consider having a subcommittee or a blue ribbon panel, I don't know what, on the implementation of the future of land use or development in this town?
What happened to the idea of an implementation committee for the,
I think that's happening on more of a procedural or
Yeah.
administrative staff level, which is great. I
Really
think
happening?
Kate's
Taking
doing that.
over, Yep,
But I'm just thinking like some group that's charged with actually putting flesh to the concepts that we have in the master plan in terms
Mhm.
of, it's almost like playing Risk,
Mhm.
moving troops here and there, so to speak, is a crude analogy. Like, this is how it actually is gonna play out, right? I mean, I think this board could do it, but we just generally don't have the time to do it in our monthly meetings.
And it would be cross-disciplinary, I could agree with that. You'd have to have people from different groups that would come in.
Exactly. Open
where's this
space.
thought?
I think a lot
Climate.
hinges on what happens in Milton, of course, and, where we go with MBTA, but I think for next spring, we do wanna look at least ADUs.
Well, we have to do ADUs.
We
Yeah.
have to do ADUs, yep. So we're gonna have to do that. I don't know, is there anything else we wanna think about?
You're on zoning still.
Yeah, on the zoning. for
Yeah, I
spring.
thought we were on
That we
subdivision.
moved, but that's okay, we're back.
No, I really don't, because I think we don't know whether we're gonna have to work on 3A, so.
But it sounds like the window on that is
So,
closing.
I have a question. I don't know if we can answer this, but based on what we've seen from the reaction to our 3A proposal,
Mm.
and I know we've got the master plan, do you think we can expect opposition to any sort of multifamily proposals we put forward, or?
I'm not in the habit of prognosticating.
I know, I'm just.
Well, I am, and
trying
the
to-
answer is yes, okay? My crystal ball is quite clear on that one, which is why I think we need to
Which
get out
means-
there.
Which means opposition to what's in the master plan, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You have to link them together. You have to get little sophisticated marketing ideas around
Well,
this.
I just, the MBTA thing is just hanging over our head, and
That's right.
it's limiting what we
I,
can
yeah,
do.
honestly, I feel like the opposition to the, and I don't know, but the opposition to the 3A thing is, it's a state mandate telling us what to do.
Right.
Whereas the master plan and a careful thought about how we want the town to look in 50 years is something we did. And
I
I
know
think
that.
there's a huge difference there that
But I think-
may be reflected in the response. I don't know.
I
I'm
think that-
optimistic.
I think there are a lot of misconceptions out there about
That is true.
what we as a board want, just because we have moved this process forward. And the changes that we're talking about that are in the master plan, which are separate from MBTA, I don't think we wanna see
Entirely
those get
separate.
swallowed up in the
Conflated.
MBTA.
maelstrom?
Yes.
I like that word, maelstrom.
But the ADU thing, we have to, that's
Yeah,
that's on our
that's-
calendar. So maybe we just stop there. Also, I think if we had a marketing program around ADUs and why they're important to help seniors like myself, stay in their place longer, there are a lot of benefits for it, not just making multifamily homes. So I think we have an angle on that to make it more acceptable to people, even though it is a state mandate.
Right.
I
Okay.
just want you all to know that this town meeting next April, oh my God.
Oh.
You have no idea how much.
Crap.
So
So this is
Oh, you
gonna
gotta
go
tell
on,
us more.
this is gonna come under other matters not, that were not
It just came out of
anticipated by
nowhere,
the
man.
chair.
Yeah, are we done with
the
zoning?
school just renegotiated all its,
Debt?
almost, I should say, hopefully by the end of next week, renegotiated all their teacher contracts.
Oh,
Oh,
good,
well,
good.
good, we won't be on
And if
strike.
you're paying attention to what's going on in Beverly.
Oh, yeah.
Marblehead, Gloucester.
I think they should all be on strike until the state starts paying for all the unfunded
We need to
mandates.
finish our agenda. Can we do
Yeah.
that and then go on to other matters not having
Sorry.
been considered by the chair?
I
I'm
just wanted
sorry,
to
I
give you a
got
heads up, that's all.
a point of order here. We have minutes to, let's
Where's
do
the
the minutes.
constable?
If I,
Yeah,
If I could
I have
just-
my gavel.
if I could just clarify, is anyone interested in working on the subdivision rules and regulations with me? David? Andrew?
I am very much interested.
Together,
If I had
sitting down
time, I would
with the
say yes,
document?
but I
That
do
would be great.
not.
Okay.
I would do that, I just have to get through the next month with
Okay.
CPA. Yeah.
I can weigh in from time to time.
Great.
Yeah, I can
Well,
too, but
maybe even if David and I start to, when you have time, you let me know, and I'll make time to be with you.
Yeah.
We get started, we get these documents, kind of flush it out, and that'd be great. And then we
Great.
can,
And to see who else need to be brought into this, like
Yep.
climate action and stuff,
Yep,
master
get
plan.
climate
well,
action.
in homework, maybe all of us can try to find this Canton and Sharon, is it? I don't think of those
I
as
have a ton
particularly
of
progressive
examples of
communities
subdivision
yeah.
regulations, so.
Canton and Sharon?
in terms of housing stock and things. It's pretty
Oh,
much single family.
No, there's a lot of development.
I'm not thinking about the people who live there. I'm thinking about the housing styles and whatever. It's fine. Okay, so we have board minutes.
So I've got the ones from, the.
Yeah.
October
that
10th.
one from the site visit, that was mine, I did those. Did I don't know if I messed those up.
We have October 10th, and we have, which is Maple Street, and we have
We did August 14th first?
Catherine, are these the edited ones?
August 14th.
I don't know if these were edited. I noticed this time is different, so it should say 6 PM.
Where?
In that,
Which one?
on the one up on the screen, the.
August 14th. Oh, this is
yeah,
the
so it
site
was
visit.
6 PM.
Catherine's muted, I think.
Can you unmute?
I'm sorry, I'm here.
She can hear us.
Are these the
No,
edited?
because border, B-O-R-D-E-R. See the.
I don't know. Margaret has
These are the ones I did. Did you
control
edit
of the
these,
minutes.
Deanna?
Yeah, I sent redactions.
Did you? I'm sorry.
It was weeks ago, so.
I have the edited ones in front of me.
Let me see. You sent those weeks ago. Did
Did
you
you
send them
redact?
localized?
I mean, I did a red line. I didn't redact, sorry.
Gonna say,
Wrong
why would you
RED
redact?
word. I redlined.
Bedlined. Border as, third line up from the bottom should be B-O-R-D-E-R.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what day I sent the edits, Catherine?
Let me give a quick check.
And I think amount should be number of trees to be
All right,
removed.
here's Dan Pascal
Oh, all right, I
Bello.
think Margaret
I
found
got
it.
it.
I don't know if I had any changes.
See, I'm not just in here
I have
talking.
10/10/24. I don't see the one of mine.
People think
August 14th, I think amount of trees should be number of trees. To make,
Which trees?
down the bottom,
With the
right
location
there.
of the
The
street.
double blue line underneath it. Yeah, that.
So-
I
so
think that should
number
be
of trees?
number of trees to be removed.
Okay. Where she's removed.
No Oxford comma problems?
Can we change the word
After
motion?
David Anderson, comma, and
To
Rick
moved.
Woodland.
Instead of motion,
Motioned, yeah.
moved.
Yeah, moved
moved.
to adjourn.
Moved. Okay.
motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor? Woodland?
Should we say approved unanimously instead of voted unanimously?
Okay, yeah, approved unanimously.
Okay. We usually put voted
Amend your
unanimously.
motion.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
put approved.
Motion to approve.
How about an
Now is
approved by
amended.
unanimous vote?
As you
Fine.
like.
Okay. Well,
Whoop.
yeah,
TE.
gotcha.
We all know that one
All
after
right.
last week.
It's the last time I'm doing the minutes.
So do we do them one at a time?
There needs to be a comma after David Anderson on that top part. Just going with my Oxford comma
There
problem.
you go.
David Anderson,
Comma,
right here?
Yep.
yeah.
Actually,
But
I
after
Well,
don't,
no,
the
I,
after the end.
I don't put a comment there. That's okay.
I do.
No, not two ends.
One end,
Oh, sorry.
comma. It's right next to it on the,
I never put a comma in front of an and.
No, me neither.
Either, but that's fine.
It's okay.
that's why you didn't
Okay.
get the pencil.
What's the pencil say?
It says,
Oxford comma till I die. We have a motion on the floor. I think I have a second. I
second.
think, all in favor. Woodland.
Aye.
Okay, great.
Anderson, aye.
Weeks, aye.
Aye.
Clay, aye.
Okay, unanimously voted.
Very good.
Approved by unanimous vote.
We are losing the energy.
So this,
Okay.
I know I
It
redlined
has
this
been
one.
Yep, I got
an hour
yours
and a
here.
half, that's why.
I did not redline the 3 pages of documents that are at the end of the.
No, and I think the 3 pages
Yeah.
were like
Hold
the
on, I
things
need
we
to do
put
a
in the,
share.
Right, they were just a list
yeah,
of
don't,
documents.
yeah, you can't.
Now share. Share dead, the red line. Okay, got that. I'll make it so we can see it.
Just editing my own minutes, I will change the date in the first paragraph to be October.
What?
Cool.
Oh, Thursday, yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay.
October,
Why wasn't I there?
That's a,
not
Good
sure.
question.
Was it because your legal capacity here was questioned?
I think you were in the
by-
middle of a lot of select board meetings.
Catherine, you got these ones?
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right, so she's making those changes?
So can we just go through it quickly, because I think usually Dan's corrections are good
Oh, I can see they are, okay.
portions.
Questions, yep.
Right here, that one?
Yep.
She's got that. Here's one,
I have all Dan's red lines.
right there. There's some more down here. Language and required.
How's that
data
working?
signs.
be excessive. Question for, yeah, okay, good.
Sidewalk.
Sidewalk should probably be
Yeah,
one
it can be
word.
one word.
One word?
Yep.
All right, you see
And
that, Catherine? Sidewalk?
I
one
do.
word? Okay. She'll make that change.
And then Spring
Right,
Hill,
there's a
there's an
space
extra
there, yep.
space in front of the.
Yep.
Yes,
That, she'll catch that one.
top, I think top
Okay, submitted that.
code isn't one
Therefore,
word, is it? Unless it's like an
Doesn't have to be.
overcoat.
Was
As an overcoat, it's one word.
Yep.
that. These were big ones.
It was a
Okay.
long meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Down here. Okay,
Oh, at what PM? Wait a minute. At what PM?
What time did we adjourn?
Right, adjourned.
9/11.
Voted unanimously to adjourn at 9:11.
Oh, I see. At what?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's just doubled. I'll take that out.
You need to take that at PM out.
Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Flagging at the end of
yeah,
the
to adjourn.
pages of minutes.
Okay,
I did not do anything with this part.
No,
This was.
Neither did I.
These
this
were
is all the
conditions.
conditions that
Yeah,
ended
I
up
assume
in
you
the-
just cut and pasted those.
I did.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just felt they were important to
All
include.
right, I
Yep,
think we need a
absolutely.
motion to approve as amended.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the planning board meeting minutes of October 10th as amended.
Second,
All in favor? Mr. Woodland?
Yes?
Yeah,
Anderson, aye.
Anderson? Weeks?
Aye.
Clay, yes.
Oh, I said yes. All right.
Did you vote on that because you weren't there? Doesn't matter, but.
That's okay.
He believes
Yeah,
it.
minutes are
You
okay.
I
just,
abstain.
Do we need a different second then?
No, minutes are not relevant to whether you attended or
He can
not.
second the minutes, I think. Other matters that may not have been reasonably anticipated by the chair. Was this this is going to be a hairy town meeting? Did you want to have that conversation now, or can we?
No, I'm just going blinking.
Okay,
Between
well,
the budget, the school budget, the new school, elementary school.
Yeah. It's gonna be all schools.
So we're gonna need a special town meeting for 3A, if we have to do it.
yes, we are.
I'd say let's stack 3A on top of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had meetings that have gone, you weren't
Days?
here. Yes, they
wasn't
have.
Till the
gone
dark.
days.
Oh, and then and then a
then the
second
next
day. Yeah, the next day,
People all
yeah.
crowding in like a room upstairs.
Imagining Roger expiring.
But they also lost quorum
Yeah.
at meetings.
Well,
Okay, I need
I
a
do have
motion
something,
to
no, I do have
adjourn.
CPA update, sorry.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
CPC update, we're meeting next week to review any pre-qualification applications for the upcoming 2026 grants. We have several so far, so if you do speak to people that are in the community that believe they qualify for a grant, please make sure they get it into town hall by next Wednesday, I think.
Oh, and I have an open
Monday.
space and recreation update.
See, there we go.
Isn't Monday your,
Oh, Monday's a deadline, I'm sorry, Monday is a deadline.
I have an open space and recreation update. We learned that the West Wenham Park is fully funded. It is going to be
Yay.
Thank you, Kitty.
going to be worked on and hopefully ready to ribbon cut in April
So exciting.
and have a big party.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it's gonna be wonderful.
Awesome.
It's going
So
to be very cool.
Good job.
I am just so happy about that.
Yeah.
Neighbors are very excited. I live over there, so it's very exciting.
It's gonna be wonderful.
And I think we're gonna talk about putting a sign up so that people know what's going on. I think a lot of people are concerned because it says it's closed and they don't know what's happening there. But it is gonna happen. I think people think it's stalled out, but it isn't stalled out. It's just these things take time. We've now ordered all the stuff and it's very exciting, so.
It's very exciting. Kate's
And with-
done an amazing job with
Yeah, she has really,
it.
yeah.
If I could just mention, I have this release document for your signatures, but you have to do it with the notary. If you could come in Monday next week sometime while Diane's here, I'll leave it with her.
I
Or
will be in New
Tuesday.
York Monday, but I
Tuesday
could come
night,
in
we're open till
Tuesday.
7.
I could come in Tuesday night.
Okay,
Do we have to have a witness?
you do. Diane has to notarize.
Can't be done, right? It's gotta be, okay.
So we just,
We just
No.
sign,
Diane, just, we went through this
You-
at the
you can
select board.
sign things
You
that
have to
don't
bring a
need-
witness.
No, it's not a witness, notary.
she's
It
a
just
witness
has to be
there.
notarized.
Oh, okay,
No, I'm sorry, I didn't
She
mean
is
that.
the witness. That's the whole
Yeah.
point of the stamp.
So I
I was
applied
there.
to be a notary, so.
Oh,
Yeah, so I sent that off the other day. So when this kind of thing comes up, I'll be able to notarize your signatures.
okay.
If I get through, I don't know.
You'll get through, gosh.
Say,
All right.
They take everybody.
they go
I
into
hope.
my background, you never know. So I'll leave this with Diane, 2 copies, if you could sign 2 copies of it.
What's
Anytime, next
The
week.
next
The date
meeting
of our
date,
December
I
meeting?
was just about to pull that up.
Yeah.
12th.
Is it the 12th?
Is it the 12th?
I will not be here. I have to be at a meeting out of state.
It would be,
December 12th, yep.
yep, 12/12.
So can you
I
run
think
this?
so. Yep. All right, I move that we adjourn until 7 PM on December 12th.
Okay.
At
I need a-
8:39.
It's 8:39 PM.
I need a second.
Second,
All in favor?
Clay,
Clay,
yes.
Oscar, aye.
Weeks, aye, although I
Yes,
guess I
aye.
should abstain
Woodland,
since I won't be
yes.
there.
You gotta go home.